Hi there, it's the engineering, graphics and design guy. What I want to do today is I want to show you how to construct a hexagon which has got 6 sides, and the external angle that we will use there is 60 degrees, and we're going to do it by construction. So I will be given a baseline of whatever length they want to give me. I'm just going to darken this a little bit, or maybe I should just move this down a bit, make it more visible. There we go. Thought the line vanished, but it's still there. Construct a hexagon. And just to guide you, just remind you that it's got 6 sides. So if your figure doesn't end up with 6 sides, it's definitely not a hexagon. I don't know what else it will be, but it's definitely should be a hexagon. Okay, I'll go to the line, my baseline, set my compass to that length, and then what I do is I scribe an arc from both ends. It's like constructing in an equilateral triangle. Can you remember that one? Right. Put my compass on that point, and then I scribe a circle, or I draw a circle through that should go through those 2 ends of the baseline. I just need to dislodge myself from the camera, which is overhead. There is my circle. I use the same radius from this end here. I go mark it off once, twice. I don't continue from there, and there's a reason behind that. I don't want to exaggerate if there's a small little mistake in something, then it's not going to be blown out of proportion by making it double every time I move it. If I move it in one side, then it might not be that accurate. So it's better to do it that way. What I do now is I line up that to that, and there is let me just make sure that that is lined up. Here's my first side of my hexagon. Here is my second side. Line it up to that point. Just make sure it's lined up. Draw the line. Join this point to that point. Draw the line from here to here. And from here to here. Let's work in the light. Let's go that point there. And there's my hexagon. And obviously sometimes if you're going to use this in auxiliary views, which we're still going to get onto, you might have to put center lines in. So just remember that all the different types of lines will become very important. Your printing becomes important, because there's nothing as bad as doing a nice drawing and then it gets spoiled by bad printing. Remember, everything on your page is for marks. Every mark, dirty mark, or whatever gets put on your paper will be a minus mark if your teacher marks that way. But we try and keep our surfaces as clean as possible, clean our set squares, and make sure that everything is nice and clean. The next one that I would like to go on to is to construct an octagon. Now, how to construct an octagon? It's obviously got 8 sides, and to get an octagon, if you had to draw it, you would have had to draw a baseline and then a 45-degree angle from each corner, and so on. But that's with the set square. In other words, I could have used my set square to, from the line, draw a 45-degree line, use it on the other side, 45 degrees, step off the line on those lines. But that's with the set square. We don't want to use the set square. We want to actually construct one. So this is how we're going to go about doing it. Let me just set the camera properly so that we can all see what we're doing. There's our baseline. Let's not get too involved in the hexagon or with the hexagon. But there's our line. Now, what I first need to do is basically like the construction that we did for the square. I'm going to erect a perpendicular, and what I'm doing now is I'm just sort of doing the next step, and you will see when we get there. I'm extending this line because in the end I want to construct a 45-degree angle line here. Now there's the end of my baseline, and what I want to do is I want to construct I want to erect a perpendicular on that line. In this case, I'm going to use quite a big arc or big radius. Scribe an arc to cut that extended baseline in two places, 1, 2. I then go with the same radius from where it cuts the line, and I prefer to work from one side instead of working from both sides, because then I won't exaggerate a small discrepancy in the radius if there is a small discrepancy. There's my points. I see it's a little bit on the light side on the screen, so let's just darken it a little bit. There you can see it a bit better. Right. You obviously will use light lines because you are using construction lines. I want to make it a little bit more visible for you. So there is my perpendicular, and at the same time it gives me a 90 degree on this side as well as on that side. So all I need to do now is to bisect this angle, and you've done bisecting before. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same radius from this point and from that point. Remember, this is the same radius. So I'm going to use, you can make it bigger if you want to. Nothing stops you or prevents you from doing that. I'm going to put my compass on that point, scribe an arc. I go to this point here because that's where my 90 degree angle stops. Remember, 90 degrees starts here and it goes all the way to there. So from this point I need to scribe an arc. That will give me my bisector, and you should remember that from your second construction. That was the second construction we did, bisecting an angle. Right, we've done that. What do I have to do now? I've created a 45 degree angle. This angle here, I'll just put a little arrow there, from there to there, is 45 degrees. And remember, we are going to use a 45 degree angle to create an 8-sided figure. So, which is an octagon. From here, I've got to go back to set to my original length. Remember, we are working with regular figures. What does regular mean? Regular means all sides are equal. At this point in time, we don't use irregular figures, which can mean that all sides are not equal. We are working with regular figures. And there I've marked it off. That's the same length as the original baseline. Now, from here, once you've done that, you have proven to the examiner that you can erect a perpendicular and you can bisect an angle to create a 45 degree line, and therefore we can now continue this exercise by using our set square, because all the other ones would be exactly the same. I would draw a horizontal line through that point, erect a perpendicular, step off the baseline, then draw a horizontal line through that line again, or through the end of that point, and erect a perpendicular again. But you've proven that you can do it by doing this angle here. What I'm going to do now, I've drawn that line vertically up there. I still use the baseline length, which is to make it a regular figure, and I step it off on that line. It's going to be quite a big figure, but that's fine, so that you can see it clearly. Obviously that line can be erased to make it nice and neat. From that line I'm going to just draw a 45-degree line from there until it strikes my first perpendicular, because that line is also going to be over there. Let me just move this again. Remember, create space around you so that you can work nicely. You just want to neaten up that line a bit. Remember, your razor becomes your friend, but obviously not too much of it. Don't make so many mistakes that you just erase the whole day. What I will do now is to take that line across and draw that line. And for starters, I'm going to do it a little bit lighter, because I'm going to show you something. What I can also do from this line here is to actually draw another line from here across, and by putting my set square up here, I can draw another one over here. So I can just take those lines across, and then what I do is I set up my t-square again, make sure that it is parallel with this line. There we go. Maybe a little bit more. It's too much. What I need to do now is to use my 45-degree set square. And I don't know if you can see that it's 45-degree set square. This angle here, and this angle here is 45. This one is obviously 90 degrees. So I have to move my set square down a little bit. I have to take this line over here, from here, and until it strikes that point there. I could have used this baseline and just marked it off there as well. This one, let me work on the light side. That goes to there. And lastly, but not least, I need to get my camera out of the way and join that line to there. And now all I need to do is just darken everything so it stands out, and try and make it all look the same. As you can see, there is my octagon. But I could have used my compass. Remember, setting it to the baseline length, and I could have marked it off over there to get in line with that line. Then I could have taken that line, marked it off there, and I could have taken this line over here straight up like this line, and that would cross there. And then from there I could have taken my compass again, mark it off, and the same at the bottom. Same at the bottom to mark it off to get those corners. So there is my octagon. So that concludes all the polygons. Polygons are the ones that we're going to use. We started off with the equilateral triangle. All sides are equal. Internal angle 60 degrees. 3 of them to make 180. Then we did the square, erect a perpendicular, bisect the outside angle. Oh no, sorry, that's for the octagon. To erect a perpendicular at the one end and step off the baseline on that line, the perpendicular. And once you stepped it off there from the top point to the side, and that would have given you, let me just have the paper in front of me, then you can follow me better. So we would have erected a perpendicular, the basic construction for that. Step off the baseline, from there baseline, from here baseline, where they meet, there's your square. And then the other one that we did was the pentagon. And here we used the baseline as a radius through the whole construction. Draw 2 big circles from the 2 ends where they intersect at the bottom. Use the same radius from there to scribe half a circle to go through the 2 end points. But this point over here is the vital point. From where the small circle cuts the big circle on the left, take the line from there through that point to cut the big circle at the top right there. The same on this side, through that point to get that, and that gives you your first side, second side, and then from here step off the baseline again, and that gives you the end point or the top point of your pentagon. Right, I hope you have fun doing this, and that it is going to help you in constructing things in future. Thank you.